and we are live on Facebook, everyone. Welcome to the Love Seat, everyone. I'm here with the amazing Leah Taylor. And just as folks are joining, because I can't see us on Facebook yet, here we are. I'm going to grab our broadcast and I'm going to share it into the Revolutionary Woman group. So just bear with me. Bear with me for a second.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm glad you're here, because if you weren't, then this would be
you talking to yourself again. No.
Me talking to myself. Not that I ever do that. Join Leah Taylor. Oh, look, and I'm narrating out loud, and we're live.
Great.
Morna Haist for the Love Seat. Okay.
When I'm teaching online, I do that too. I'm like, and now I'm doing this, and now I'm doing that. People laugh at me. Yeah.
Right. Well, we are live on Facebook. We're live in the Revolutionary Woman group. We're live on the Revolutionary Woman global page. So, yay. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know, I'm Morna Haist, and I am the founder of Revolutionary Woman Global, and we work with women all over the planet who are shaping the future of our world and doing incredible, amazing things. And I am so thrilled. Incredible, amazing things. So that's the technical version. I'm so thrilled to welcome Leah Taylor to the Love Seat today. Welcome, Leah. Welcome, welcome. Where are you joining in from?
I'm very grateful to be joining you from the beautiful unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, over right in the middle on the east side of Vancouver Island.
That is amazing. And I can probably kind of see you if I went out onto the highway and looked over at the island, because I'm in Lions Bay, across over in the mainland. And Leah, it's amazing. It's this part of the world that I've landed in is magic. There is no other way of describing it.
I agree. Totally
it is magic. Speaking of magic, you are a doula and compassionate community leader, and I would love to read out some of your bio, because it is important to me, and I think important for folks to hear. You're a mother, wife, published educational researcher and writer, professor and supervisor in Vancouver Island's Master of Educational Leadership, certified birth doula, sole proprietor of Leah Taylor Consulting. You hold certifications in life and career coaching, qualified to facilitate psychometrics, and have been recognized by the Comox Valley Chamber of Commerce as so many C's. Comox Valley Chamber of Commerce Compassionate Community Leader. Woo! Say that 20 times really fast. I love that.
Yeah, I know.
And voluntary founder and president of 2 organizations in the Comox Valley, where you've been grateful to live and work and raise your family for the past 21 years. Wow, Leah. Firstly, I want to acknowledge that you are a human of just amazing gifts and breadths, and your offerings into the world are so multi, I want to say prong dimensional. And I'm curious what sits in front or behind or alongside of it all. Like, you know, is there a vision that you're working towards in the world, consciously, unconsciously? I'm really curious to start there. What drives all of this at whatever level you know?
That's a really great question. That's a really great question. I didn't know that question, and I definitely didn't know that answer for a long time. I just thought I had a really messy resume. So
right. Okay, I love that.
So I didn't set out in my 18th year and say, this is my plan. That's not how it went. That's not how it went. So, but what I have learned through circles and sisterhoods and working with people like you and Kim Stand Even is there is a method to my madness, and in working through my PhD, I'm also like, where does this come from? Why am I here? So the answer is, I'm a responder. First of all, I respond. I feel my way into the world, and I respond to when I see need, and that's where the root of it starts. I like to like to say I was raised by the wolves, and that has living in the great wild north, because as a child and as a sister with 3 wild brothers, I learned to use my senses a lot. So those senses coming into civilization, I've really started to, I feel my way into relationship. I feel my way into environments and rooms. So out of that has come, when I see a need, I'm curious. So the second one is curious, compassion, curiosity. And then the next piece to that is I need to know. So I need to learn. I'm constantly learning. I sort of joke that I'm a sand crab. I sift and sift and sift, but there comes a point where I want to share. So the third one is sharing. You know, I want to help, make a difference. And the big theme under all of those, what do I want to help with? I want to bring back into balance what I call the masculine and feminine energies of the world. I think we are so out of whack, and all of our ills in healthcare, education, society come from that imbalance. So through the wisdom of yourself and others, I've come to name that, you know, as I'm seeking to bring balance and to integrate those sacred feminine, masculine aspects of all of us.
I love that you're starting there and naming that, and I can definitely see that thread through the work that you're doing and the way it expresses itself. And what I also love about you is that I think we're kindred spirits in a way, because I see us playing at different levels of the systems that we're in. You know, you're in the academic world, you're on the front lines, you're in community, you're with the moment of bringing a human life into the world. You know, like, and I love that, because I think it gives a richer, more holistic perspective of the work that we're trying to do when we're experiencing it through these different sort of systemic lenses. And I've been having a lot of conversations recently about feminine, masculine, and I'd love for us to riff off that and chat about it for a wee while, because you know, I've been noticing more and more my rejection of ideas around equality and equity and whatnot. And one of the fundamental reasons is because I've been really asking myself the question of equality within what? Am I seeking, I'm attempting to seek equality within a system that frankly I didn't create, that wasn't created on behalf of me through a feminine lens, that left out so many perspectives. And so when we talk about balance, what I've been leaning into more and more is that I don't believe we can achieve balance until we tip the teeter-totter or the seesaw or whatever over to the feminine, so that as women or anyone who identifies through a feminine lens, because it's not necessarily a female thing, right? We need to do so much more work in my world to really understand what that is, to lean into it so that we can bring that into the world. And for me, that's going to take a tipping of the balance in the other direction so that we can find what this looks like. How does that land?
Yeah, there has to be a leveling, right? So does leveling mean surpassing and then leveling, right? Or yeah, that's a really great
yeah, so I didn't mean to come in with a big philosophical like
yeah, you do though, right? That's who you are.
Yeah.
It's a wicked question right off the get-go. I agree and also disagree. I think in a sense, Jung's work talks about the transcendent third, Carl Jung. And so there's the masculine, the feminine, and we have been so binaried, and one has far, far more power for so long. Lately, I'm thinking, what's the third, right? What's the third where they're all equally powerful? What's the third? It kind of reminds me of my wedding vows. There's you, and you are whole, and you have your own life, and then there's me, and I'm whole, and I have my own life. What's our us? What's our we? And so what's the transcendent third that we haven't yet imagined? Because I agree, we haven't swung the pendulum. We may have originally, ancient wise, come from more of a matriarchy or sacred feeling for the sacred feminine, if you will. But yeah, that's all been totally taken out. It's emerging now. It's emerging through grief. It's emerging through the earth. It's emerging through, but my thinking is, if we go to battle to take back or take away or to shift power, that we're still back in that binary of back and forth. And not to make it wrong. I agree and disagree. I agree that we need to focus on the marginalized, the body, the feminine, the feeling, the intuition, in order to get us all at the same table to start with, right? And then we
okay. That is, I wish I had Kim sent me a little mic, because I'd like to do mic drops.
You drop it.
Yeah. Here. And that's also been stolen, but yeah, we'll drop some pens. Yeah, it's curious, because I think we're actually talking about the same thing in a way. I really hear you on the transcendent third, and I think that the way that I am sort of feeling into the kind of leadership we need on the planet right now, I think it's not in our service to attempt to create another dominant system, but this time it's just run by women or whatever. Like, and I'm actually, pardon?
Or feminine, just general femininity.
Feminine general.
We need balance.
We do need balance. And I'm curious as to what you think about this, because I also believe that, I also don't want to, and I'm going to use the word patriarchy right now, because I believe that's a different word to masculine leadership. Well, there's definitely a thing here, but if we look at patriarchal systems, to me, that's something slightly different, although again, linked together. Some of those ways of being and leading have served us really well as a species, and were, I'd say, products of the time and place that we were in as a species, or whatever was needed to, or that we decided was needed at that time. And if I look at the nature and the level of the kinds of challenges we're facing as a species right now, to me, at the heart of so many of those challenges, the capacity to bring folks together in co-creation, the capacity to help communities solve their own problems, to bridge their own divides, to work together, are capacities that I feel like we urgently need, and I see them in the feminine. And, when I think about, I kind of think about ultimately, and again, I'm really curious what you think about this. Ultimately, balance is awesome, and balance really takes a lot, because to me, the kind of, it's also natural and normal for things to go like this. Depending on what's right.
So are we an electrical system or an ecosystem, right? Are we on and off? Or are we just emerging and evolving and adapting, and it's all changing now? So okay, we have to shift a little bit. We need a little bit more masculine energy. Just recontain, and then it's not, we found the perfect center or the perfect third. We're in and out of it.
And that, I think, is an advanced capacity. Because we have, for the most part, from my lens, created a society that is a little more binary in its thinking, that is a little more, if I do this, I get that. That doesn't necessarily have the capacity to work in an emergent system where the system is leading the way and we're a part of that. And I'm curious about that through the lens of the work that you're doing. How that shows up. How does it show up in your leadership work? How does it show up in your teaching?
Great question. Yes.
I just made it up.
Good. I love that about you. So I would say, so that drive for balance of integration, it shows up in healthcare doula, it shows up in education, it shows up in my latest passion to decolonize research itself. All of these places, it's all around the same thing. And so what does that look like? In the birthing room, it looks like trusting my intuition and hers, and allowing nature to do its magic, helping her trust her intuition, her gut, her body, her nature, and relying, if necessary, on the fantastic medical system that has been put in place to control and manage things. But, so I'm a buffer. I see myself being now an informed buffer between a patriarchal healthcare system and a wild and flailing mother in labor who's not, which instinct do I trust? Because she's been trained to not trust. She's been trained to, like, at what point am I supposed to be raced into the OR?
Right.
You're not. You're doing great. Just keep breathing and being present. How are you feeling, right? For example, that's healthcare. Education's the same. So I'm walking into a room of international students, and yes, there's a lot of academic and lots of rules and regulations around things, but I would start instead with the question of, who are you as a leader? Here you are, you've flown all the way from India to be, in an educational leadership program. So what brings you here? Who are you? What are you wanting to contribute? So that's a different conversation than, here's an expert to download and here's an expert to download, that more patriarchal.
Transmission, transaction.
Yeah. So if I'm in the middle, again, I find myself in the buffer zone between an evolving human, feeling, intuiting person and a system that wants to or does not want to change them. So where's your right place in there? Like, where's your sense of agency in that? And it often starts with helping them with who they are. Like, what drives you? The very question you asked me as we walked in the room here. What drives you? Who are you? It's important to ask. In a lot of cultures, that never gets asked, especially of women. So.
Wow, because that's right. Because my experience of more formal education is that I'm apparently an empty vessel to be filled with this knowledge. Yes. And, I am from New Zealand, and that's where I've spent most of my life as a teacher of adults. And there is a Māori word, ako, A-K-O, and it's one of my fundamental philosophies. And what it means is that it's the relationship between the student and the teacher, that it's not a one-way relationship. As I'm teaching you, you're teaching me, and we're in this, we're in this dance together. And to be taught by someone, or for me to approach the folks that I'm working with as students, and I work with adults. So, but I also have the same philosophy as younger people. If we're viewing the person who's in front of us as a competent, confident human,
yes,
for me it comes down to that lens, and that we are in relationship with each other. And from my experience, things get real amazing when we have those kinds of learning environments, so much richer. Because I also, a system is also evolving from the ground up at the same time as research is catching up by so we're always in this, pardon?
And we're scrambling, research is scrambling to catch up.
That's right. And at the same, sorry, I'm talking over you.
No worries. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm coming back to one of the big women-led organizations that I worked with in New Zealand, which had a really amazing emergent leadership philosophy. Basically, the philosophy was the newest person in the organization is the most important. And this was a parents' organization, so we're talking about the newest mothers coming in, rather than the mothers who have been around for 15 years. And of course, those mothers have a place, and it's a very important place because they're holding wisdom.
Yes.
And the new mother is coming in with the freshest wisdom, with the on-the-ground, real-time experience of, I had my babies 19 years ago.
I beat you on that one.
Right. And this moment of, and again, coming back to this organization, the way this kind of played out in practice is that some of the folks who had been around for a while, and I know that you will see this playing out in communities and organizations and any kind of system or structure where emergence gets blocked or new ideas or new possibilities get blocked because the wiser people in the system are saying, no, well, we tried that. We tried that idea. I'm like, well, maybe it didn't work 3 years ago. Maybe the time is now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why I'm going down that tangent, but it feels the same to me in terms of education. In terms of if we really are committed to transformational education, then to me that is a relationship with what's unfolding in the moment. I'm going to stop talking now and see if any of that made sense.
No, that all makes sense. Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. It's reciprocity, it's relationship, it's respect for all, equitable respect. Because someone's new to the space does not mean they are naive or less than, right? They do have a ton of information to offer. So my role is not to be the expert saying, oh, here's the latest, greatest, I can track trends like anyone else can, but more importantly, to find out what their experience is. So, and I think education is moving that way to student-centered, and then healthcare is moving towards client-centered. And so what's with you? Like, who are you? Like, what do you need? What do you see? What do you feel? Not, hey, we've got all this great stuff for you. We're just going to apply it to you until you're absolutely gone.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we keep the learner, the mother, the person in front of you, no matter what you're exploring? And so I always say the experts in the room. And I have to say, I get really uncomfortable with I'm the welcoming committee at VIU. My first class, I'm the first teacher. So I had a really hard time with this. I have to tell you a little story. When I would be in my class setting up, and I would notice out of the peripheral vision, someone standing at the door. So I'm like, oh, hello. And it was students waiting for permission to enter. And I was like, this is your space, come on in. And if they were 2 minutes late, the deep, I'm so sorry, professor. I'm just like, oh, this is our space. You come and go as you need, and it takes weeks to get that comfort level there. I'm really uncomfortable with that, because that's giving a deference I haven't earned yet, even, right? Even if I ever could. So I think it takes, usually on the first few days, whether I'm being a doula or an educator, is listening. Who are you? This is your space. I am a container. So what do you need in this container? How do you need me to be in this container? And that is more feminine, right? To be the container, in a sense.
Well, and I'd say that I'd actually go as far as to say it's advanced feminine, because we've been, I mean advanced feminine within the context of our current prevailing ways of being, where we are conditioned to, if I think about my own birth experience of my second child, I had a C-section here in Canada with my first, and when my second daughter was born in New Zealand, I decided to have a home birth. So I went through the process of trying to make that happen, because once you've had a C-section, the idea is that's it. And I found a midwife who had worked in very challenging, with the most sort of challenging hospitalized cases, and and she went through my desire with me, and we actually looked at the reality and how healthy my body was, the kind of C-section I'd had, my philosophies, she looked at me holistically rather than just going, no, this doesn't happen. These things don't happen. And we put a really amazing plan in place that if this, and this happens,
right. So that would be that's transcendent third. That's including all of it. Right.
That's right. And so my nervous system could relax, because we had a plan. But she also said something really important to me, which I wish I'd heard the first time I was giving birth, and I had no choice but to have a C-section because the baby was breech and the hospital insisted, and da da da. Anyway, it is what it is. You know, she said to me, what I really want you to know is what you might experience and how it may feel, because we need to discern between normal birth and a situation that isn't normal. And she said it can be a fine line, because you may not have, you haven't experienced what this actually feels like.
Right.
To know that I'm not actually dying right now.
Yes.
I'm experiencing normal birth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Pain versus suffering, we call it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Pain versus suffering. And, and we did a lot of work on that. And I really believe that's one of the key things that helped me be able to give birth at home in that situation, because, I think firstly, because I knew that I wasn't going to be demanding we go to the hospital the first time it got really painful, but I trusted her implicitly that she was going to act in my best interests. But I bring it up because I notice my own learning journey, and you must experience this all the time with, how do you establish that trust in a woman who's been conditioned in a system that says that birth is a medical procedure and it's likely to go wrong? And maybe that's just my perception of what it feels like at my end, but that's what birth feels like in Western countries. But anyway, over to you. I'm not the doula.
You are, but okay. Doula in many other ways. Yeah. Absolutely. How do we reframe that again? How do we
learn to trust ourselves
and each other?
Systems that have been designed to, I think actually remove our fundamental trust in our whole humanness.
Yeah, that's it. In a nutshell, you sort of said it. It's been removed. So how do we put that back? How do we retell the story? I'm very fortunate to have had dozens and dozens of births that went so beautifully well that I have many good stories to tell. Media is starting to catch on, and it's not all pregnant and 16, anymore, 16 and pregnant, reality TV versions.
Right.
There's another source of information here. There's at least two other sources of information. Positive experiences of natural birth that were unmedicated or overmanaged births.
I was going to say uninterfered with, or yeah.
Your own body wisdom, pain versus suffering. But again, that's where the research would come in, is to understand what that feels like, what that looks like, to help you understand that. So how do I help you trust your body? Help you remember when you've overcome things in the past, help you listen to what's going on in the moment, help you visualize what could be in the future, right? So, and as far as trust between myself and my clients and their partners, it's just that, listening, asking, when have you ever had this? When have you ever felt that? People manage pain in different ways. I often sort of say, when have you ever done something that you just have to get through it for the next 5 minutes, right? Root canal, stubbed your knee, surgical, whatever, something you're just like, oh my God, I'm not, and all the words are coming out, right? What did you do? Did you move around it? Did you go tight? Did you get quiet? Did you get loud? What did you do? What is your body's natural response to what is going on here, right? So where do you go? Let's work with that. So it's just like we all have auditory, visual, ways of learning. We also have different ways of navigating pain or discomfort. Mm-hmm. So there's a trust in the midwives, or trust in the obstetrician, or trust in the nurses, myself, that is actually easier to give because we're a medical professional, or we have research, or we've been there 75 times. So like, is this feeling okay? I don't know. How does it feel in you? It's exactly what she said to you. You know, there's a fuzzy area where we have moved from pain of birth to suffering. Something's off, something's wrong. I'm starting to panic here.
Mm.
You have to listen to that. I have to listen to you. And that's where I trust your body, and you would trust my insight. And this is where intuition comes in really helpful for me. I've got this little secret trick. That is, I'm not going to quite call myself a medical intuitive, but I can feel in my own body when I'm that tuned in what's going on. And I've been able, touch wood, to call this a few times where I'm like, this isn't normal. I know you're tough, but this isn't, we're going to shift, or we're going to the hospital right now. Okay. But I had that trust then, right? And other times where they were like, this is totally haywire, everything's going sideways. I'm like, actually, no, we're just going to sit you up in a different position and boop, up, right there, just right past that little hip bone, whatever, like it's positioning, right?
Yeah.
So just intuitive intuition, watching. Intuition isn't woo-woo, actually. It's just really paying attention.
It's just being able to pay attention to what's happening. Yeah, it's not woo at all. Yeah, and I love what you're saying here, because I think there are so many, and we'll kind of close off on this theme because we're already nearly at time, which is,
oh my God.
I don't know how that happens, but it's because it just feels like we're having a chat in the living room and we're not actually live on Facebook. So I'm not even looking at Facebook right now with this new setup. I apologize if folks are leaving comments. I can't see them right now, but I will. I think what you're talking about here is such an applicable skill across so many things, particularly leadership development. Any work that we're doing where we do need discernment between, is this a discomfort that I need to walk through, or is this a discomfort that actually needs an intervention or something paid attention to it in a different way? And I think sometimes we can confuse those, or in a more traditional system, in more traditional systems, we put those things in boxes and there's less room for that intuition that's happening in the moment. I will say too that I think it's, thank you, nature, for creating contractions and not one big contraction, because I don't think the species would have continued if there wasn't some contrast in the birth process, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great metaphor for life as well, in terms of I don't know what the end of my sentence is, but I just want to say that I think that's a great metaphor for life. As we close out, and of course, as I always do, I'm just going to drop in another big kahuna. I'm not. What would be some practical wisdom or advice that you would love to offer to any woman who is watching this, who is on a journey of reconnecting with herself, of establishing that fundamental trust?
Hire a doula. No, I'm just kidding.
But we'll put your phone number below. But whether you're pregnant and having a baby or not, but anyway.
Go into it. Be your best friend. Sit down with your own self and say, what are you looking forward to? What are you afraid of? Where are you feeling this? What's the story there? Who told you that? Is there a different story we can tell? There's a lot of trauma in the world right now, and birth is one of those places. And it's one of those places, birth is one of those places where all those traumas come up, unbidded, unwillingly, unconsciously. So this would be a really good time to do process, to write it on rocks and throw it in the ocean, to write it out. There's a great book and videos called Birthing from Within. And that would be my best tip of the day, is go check out Birthing from Within. Literally or metaphorically, what do I know is my power? What do I know is my weakness, and what can help me heal that, fill that, support that? And just trust your body. You're built to do this, and get a good team. So if and should something go sideways, you can trust that others will have you, you know, like have you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Leah. I think those are great lessons for life in general. And I love the idea of birthing from within. I love the idea of, you know, when you mentioned being friends with yourself, what came to mind is even, you know, treating yourself like you're a new friend as well, somebody to be explored.
Learn.
As you, yeah, and give yourself the gift of that process, because it's a beautiful process, and be a really good friend to yourself. Like, don't be that dick friend that is, you know, like giving you a what? Yeah,
you're such a wuss. What? No.
Yeah. Don't be that friend, and don't be the friend who's got like all of the answers, and you know, be the kind of friend to yourself that you love being to others. Okay, Leah Taylor. Well, that was your first Facebook Live.
Oh my gosh, you make it so easy. You're a great doula. Thank you.
So I'm the Facebook Live doula.
You're a Facebook Live doula. Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And if folks want to reach out to you about doula stuff or anything, how do they do that? Doula stuff.
Doula stuff. You want to start doula stuff? I built a collective, and so you can find me that way. And it's just really simple. ComoxValleyDoulas.com. So COMOX Valley Doulas.com all together. ComoxValleyDoulas.com, and you'll see me and all these other amazing women who are gathering together to help us rebirth the world. We are there. That's probably where you can find me as far as contact goes. And yeah, for research, the other one is just my name again, Leah Taylor at uvic.ca.
I won't publish your thing on the. I'll say stalk Leah on Facebook.
Stalk me on Facebook.
That's the modern way, Leah. But, yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me in the Love Seat. And I'm Morna Haist. That was the Love Seat, where we chat with one of our amazing community members every week and show each other some love and make the amazing things that we're doing in the world more visible at this really important time. So thank you, Leah, and tune in next week.
Thank you, Morna.
Bye, love.